My name is Jamie. I'm a crystal meth addict. Apparently, I'm a liar, a cheat, and a thief because this is, yeah, and a whore. Nicole's right. And a whore. I'm a whore. I'm a whore, y'all. I'm a fucking whore. I'm going to tell you what, because it's a miracle, number one, that I can say thank you, James, for asking me to share. Mother, I'm sorry. You're going to hear a foul-mouthed tramp up here. But I used to not be able to say that I'm a crystal meth addict. That was very difficult. I've never been to this meeting. Never. Because that's how deep my shame and embarrassment has been with crystal meth. And I've used it since I was in the 7th grade. But Alcoholics Anonymous allowed me to hide out in AA, never talking about, I have to take my jacket off, I'll get warm. Talking about poppers. You know, I got so good at huffing poppers. I would just pour them down my fucking nostril. I didn't care if I got burned. I worked in a burn unit so I could manage the chemical burns with Silvadine. I wouldn't do the little pipe pookie thing that they do. I would just booty bump. You know, there were all these things I would do. Grinder. Oh my God, that's probably why I wasn't here, because I was up all night Friday night, which had me, I had to redefine for myself what a dose of crystal meth for me is. I mean, if I'm taking dirty loads all night long and I'm sober, knowing that my asshole is probably the most vascular part of my body, I guess I'm microdosing meth through my asshole. I had to turn off Grindr, y'all. You knew I was on it. I couldn't live without. And this goes back to the 90s. I remember when AOL went unlimited in 94 or 5. Baby. And you didn't have to, because it was 56K or some shit dial-up. And you would have to attach your pics, you know, and send them. But then I figured out you could just forward them. I mean, it's been a very difficult journey for me. But there have been a lot of people around here who never gave up. I've known Jeff a long time. We've known people a long time. Jim Hooker was an alcoholic. He didn't understand me. He didn't understand us. Dawn understood us. Because Dawn, I mean, Dawn was an old school junkie, honey. Dawn, he knew what we would get ourselves into. Dawn Norman was like, God, just go to 6. Just go to 6 crystal meth, and that's your tribe. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I mean, I was just so much shame. To actually, you know, be in a place where I'm able to talk about it and accept the fact that, you know, that I'm not the only one. The shit's endemic across the planet. I mean, you know, they developed that shit in World War II to kill people, you know, to keep those pilots alive. And now here we are. In the 60s, they talk about it in Alcoholics Anonymous. They talk about speed. They talk about methamphetamine. That's what they called it. So it's been with us a long time. And I got sober a long time ago, and I remember, you know, the addicts stayed on one side of the street and the alcoholics stayed on the other side. And they just didn't mix because, you know, I get sketchy. I start hearing voices. There's shadow people. There's all sorts of stuff. And I don't really think the Alcoholics Anonymous wanted anything to do with that. And when I tell y'all I would take loads, honey, I would take loads. I'm talking 15 a night, sketchy or not. I mean, living in West Hollywood, I moved to South LA 15 years ago thinking that I would get some reprieve from this sexual behavior. That wasn't the case at all. Anyway, finally, I'm not on the apps. And the reason I talk about the apps is because Anil, you know, she would always have us do this hookup app, workshop at CMA, you know, trying to get through to us. And finally, I just have let them go because there's been so many different algorithms over the years There's been manhunt. There's been Cupid's bow or Cupid's arrow. There's sniffles now. Mark told me about there was a professional dating app. What's it called? Hinge. Now it's Hinge. I will tell you one thing from experience of working in technology. There's probably the same software engineer writing the same algorithm going from fucking place to place to place selling the code. And that shit, our devices in these apps are so addictive for me. It's so addictive. And now I get the shareholders report for Grindr. Yeah, your misery is being traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and I'm profiting off of it. If you can't beat them, join them. Let me tell you something. I don't know how they managed to trade sex and drugs on the New York Stock Exchange, but by way of Grindr stock, they've achieved it. And that shit shot up to 25. It's down to about 13 right now. So when it shot up to 25, I sold it all and used the money to finance AALA. So now it's back down again. So I've gobbled up a little bit more. They're going to do something. They're trying to do a stock buyback, or they're trying to get, something's going to happen where it's going to, and then I'm going to sell it again and then give it to y'all. But it's been a very difficult journey. And I'm so glad that Jim Hooker, Jim Andre, Don Norman, they stuck by my side. They said, bitch, you're going to have to go to college. Number one, that mouth of yours. Number two, you're going to be a hooker. Now, there's nothing wrong with people, I've sold my ass before. Luckily, I haven't had to rely on it because I just give it away. That interferes with trying to sell it. But I did manage to get an education and become a nurse. I worked at County Hospital. I stayed there because I was I couldn't hold down a job anywhere else, really. So I had a union where, they can suspend you a number of times, but they can't fire you. There would be times during that 20-year period where I wouldn't even go to work, I wouldn't go to work. I would be so fucked up on drugs and crazy and mental, but I never got fired. So this year I'm retiring because 5 years ago I started my own little business and it's doing very well. And it's really given me the opportunity to focus more on not only myself and my sobriety, but our community. What is this LGBTQIA2S+? I didn't know what the fuck a non-binary was until this year. I didn't even understand the concepts of myself. I've always had strange experiences going to doctors and dentists and anywhere because I'm HIV positive. And when you tell them, they really don't even want to touch you. And they don't even want to touch you today. So I get to, provide services and stuff that, help people feel better about themselves, go from dysphoric to euphoric. And if they're HIV positive, I really don't even care. I am too. We're not fucking. I'm just giving you Botox, for God's sakes. But some of these other places you go to, it's like, you tell them you're HIV positive, and it's like, no, you're not going to catch it. And this still is very pervasive today. And I like to just, where we can just, when I send these good faith exams, I don't need to know I don't need to know. I don't care if you're on PrEP. The biggest thing now is we get to take these little Cabenuva shots, one here and one here, and you don't have to think about your HIV meds for 2 months. You just go in and get the shot, and you go in and get the shot, and you off and running. And now they're like, they're going to have it where you can take it every 6 months or once a year. And that's a far cry from where our community has come from, even in these rooms, not being able to so much as speak about HIV because 10 minutes, thank you. Because I don't know if it was because the trauma was too much or it was an outside issue. Well, I'll tell you right now, every motherfucking thing that comes out of my mouth is an outside issue. It just is. This program wasn't designed for anyone like me. It just wasn't. It was designed for doctors and stockbrokers and every time somebody came in who was new, they had to go over to Bill W. and Dr. Bob and ask if they could be allowed in. So I talk about everything. Because everything has affected my sobriety. I got here on my own when I was 19 years old. My mother was forced to go to Alcoholics Anonymous when I was 12. So I've been exposed. I've basically been raised in these rooms. I never left. I never took off because I was on a crystal meth binge for 2 or 3 years. I just stayed here and acted like a fucking idiot right here. You know, there always had to be a villain. I see these kids in here now. I'm not going to mention any names, but you know, she was so, I went and picked her up. She's bright too. Bitch got a graduate degree already, working on her piece. She's smart. Went and picked her up. She was in the back of my truck, and she kept looking back over her shoulder. I was like, bitch, there ain't no shadow people back there. You the only motherfucker back there. She shows up at a meeting a few weeks ago, and she said somebody, you know, this person's sponsees showed up in sweats, and they were going to jump her. I said, bitch, ain't nobody going to jump you. Nobody. She had gotten loaded. She had a few nights before, and when we come back, here it is. I'm mad at the world. I'm scared to go to work. I don't want to call anybody. My booty hole hurts. I can't eat. I got a stomach flu. No, bitch, you sticking shit up your ass. Stop. That's what it is for me. This stuff has a powerful grip on me. Even today, being 52 years old with 3.75 years of sobriety, I've got to be very careful because I want to smoke weed. There's a weed anonymous over there. I love smoking weed, y'all. Jesus Christ. I love marijuana. Oh my God. And then they came out with those doctor's prescriptions. Anyway, I need to get sober. There's been so many sobrieties, I don't even know which one to begin with. But this latest one was after Dawn died, because that was it. That was the end of it. That was the end of all the, you know, key, and up and down Santa Monica, eating fried chicken. It was it. And Dawn had imparted onto me a relationship with a higher power. Is that my time? A relationship with a higher power. And I think there I was, loaded, just like his sister Lynette. He used to always talk about Lynette. There I was on his sofa as he was dying, you know, loaded, taking pills, whatever, smoking weed. And we had spent so much time together, so much time on the telephone. And I knew deep down in my heart that it was time to grow up, basically. And over the years, you know, I've slowly accepted the fact that he's with me, of course, he's with us, but he's gone. And then, of course, Jim Andre died, you know, and all of these men who have been, and women, who've been instrumental in my white privilege, for lack of a better term, if you want to know the truth about it. I never had to worry about housing, you know, as a young gay male. I never had to worry about where my next meal was going to come from here in these rooms. Never. I never had to worry about a car. I never had to worry about tuition. And I don't come from a wealthy family. I mean, that's just the level of care and love and that I got from these men. I mean, it goes from buying me shoes when I first got here when I was 18 and 19 years old, to helping me get jobs, apartments, and cars, just helping me piece my life together year after year, you know, time after time. Best in Drag Show raises this money, you know, for what used to be called Aid for AIDS. And I'm not 100% sure what it was called before that. But there was a like this diner or cafe on Santa Monica, and across the street was Tim Sullivan, and they were up there in this, and you'd go over there and you'd tell them you didn't have any money, you were fucked up on drugs, and they'd cut you an $800 check for your rent. Well, that would pay your rent back years ago, so that, I would go over there and get a check every 4 months to pay my rent. And they still do that today. I know people who, I think they've been, they've consolidated with AALA, and I know someone who's gotten funding for their deposit for their apartment and stuff. So just being here, moving here when I was very young, and being a part of this community has been critical in my survival, because I would have died living in Texas and staying in Texas. I heard a cassette tape from this woman out here called Marie Stinner. And I doubt any of you even know who she is, 4 minutes. But she talked about being molested, which I was, being turned on, being raped, young men, us, all of us, every single one of us, being raped, and how we would replay that, our part in the 4th step. No, she said, you're not responsible for what happened because you weren't old enough to give consent. But how we're responsible today is that I would replay that scenario over and over and over again by hooking up with all these guys, taking their load, and getting loaded. Pretending like I'm totally unaware of what's going on back there. Yeah. Oh, you can do whatever you want. And they'll piss in you. Yeah, that's how I'm being this graphic because these are the things that I did to stay loaded. Thinking that I was sober. Too embarrassed to come in here and talk about it. Going to the pig party in Berlin. Oh, you can do what you want. Oh, you can do what you want. And they will, honey. They will. They will. I have to be very careful what I allow into my body today. All of it. All of it. Including when I open up an application on these devices. Because there is an algorithm now being orchestrated in the background by artificial intelligence. You're not talking to some little boy on the other end or girl or whatever they are. You're talking to an algorithm, an app. It's not the same as AOL. Just like crystal meth isn't the same. If you go home today and test your crystal meth, because I know some of you may have some on you in here, because I would, it all has fentanyl in it today. Nothing is the same anymore. Nothing is the same. Nothing. It's so easy to die today. It's so easy. Like I've lost so many people in the last few weeks. It's like, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. I mean, it's really incredible, the loss, the frequency of the loss today. We were going to AALA when it was downtown at that hotel. And there was someone dead on the side of the street. And, someone was like, let's go help him. I was like, this was before they rolled out the Narcan spray. I mean, everyone should have Narcan with them because I've seen people in the meetings. We gave them Narcan and they pop back up. In these recovery homes, until the paramedics can get there, they'll pop back up because we think we're doing crystal meth. We're not. We're doing a little bit of it, but it's laced with, fentanyl, which is just so deadly. So deadly. For years, I didn't understand how the fuck are we getting fentanyl? Because at work, you have to have people on a ventilator to administer fentanyl to them, unless it's on a patch. So for years, I really just didn't understand how is fentanyl on the street? Well, it's on the street. They're getting it into this country, and we are using it. We're using it in the crystal meth. We're using it in all sorts of drugs today. And I can't believe I'm even up here talking about this in such a way that's like, I'm warning you. The reason is because I'm not stupid enough to think that I can't be sitting in that chair tomorrow raising my hand as a newcomer. That's how my addictions work. Y'all, I've had 8 years. I've had 5 years. I've had this. I've had that. And it doesn't even matter to me anymore. None of that matters. I have a wonderful life today, but I live this life one moment at a time. one moment at a time. Because if I pick up that app and get these boys over, that's all it's going to take. That's all it's going to take. All it's going to take is for that app to look a certain way to me in that moment. And it's over. I'm off and running all over again. It's very dangerous for me now. It's not like when I was a guy. When you're a woman, you got to be careful because these men will gobble you up. They will gobble my ass up. And I have to be careful. They will leave me for dead. It's I have to be careful when I walk into Home Depot because these motherfuckers will stalk me around the store and follow me out to my car. Literally. And offended when I don't want to shake their hand and introduce myself to them. I mean, someone could offer me drugs in a situation like that. I literally have to be on guard and paying attention to everything going on around me. Vigilant to keep myself sober today. Because, that's just where I am in the phase of my development and with this disease. I'm very vulnerable. I'm very vulnerable to this disease. And it's very, very important for me to tell you that today. I am a drug addict. I am a drug addict. And I got a feeling it's never, ever, ever, ever going to let up. It's never going to let up. Thank you.